There's no such thing as a free airport. Even if an airport is publicly owned, it still has to make money somehow. But how do airports actually earn money? Well, most of the money that airports make comes directly or indirectly from passengers like you and me. And there are 5 ways that we pay airports for the service that they provide. The first way that airports make money is by charging airlines to land at the airport. For example, in 2019, LAX, which is the airport here in Los Angeles, made over $55 million just from landing fees. On average, LAX charges about $165 per plane landing. So if a small airline like Southwest Airlines flies 100 planes in and out of LAX every day, they would have to pay LAX around $16,500 every single day in landing fees. And that's just one airport. Multiply that by all the airports that Southwest flies into, and you can see how quickly these fees add up. But even though this is the biggest source of revenue for most airports, it's not the only one. In fact, airports also make money from the airlines through what's called a passenger facility charge, or PFC, and this fee is actually the second biggest source of revenue for most airports. This is a fee that's actually passed on to passengers like you and me. So next time you fly out of an airport and you see this weird-looking fee on your ticket that looks something like this, well, that's probably a PFC, and it usually ranges anywhere from $3 to $18 per passenger, and it goes directly to the airport that you're flying out of. So for example, if you were flying out of Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, you'd probably see a $13 PFC added onto your ticket, and if you were flying out of Denver International Airport, you'd probably see an $8 PFC added onto your ticket. Now you may be wondering, why do I have to pay this fee, and why does it go to the airport and not the airline that I am flying with? Well, it turns out that this fee was created in order to help pay for the construction of new airport facilities and to renovate old ones. So basically, every time a new terminal is built or a new runway is built, instead of the government paying for it directly, they pass the cost onto passengers through this PFC. Now the third way that airports make money is through the food and the shops inside of the airport. You see, in many airports, the stores and the restaurants aren't actually owned by the airport. Instead, the airport leases out the space to private companies. And so when you buy a sandwich from a shop inside of an airport, or you buy a bottle of water, or you buy a souvenir, that money doesn't go to the airport. It actually goes to the private company that owns that store. But the airport does make money from this because they get to collect rent from these stores. In fact, many airports use this as their main source of non-aeronautical revenue, meaning revenue that isn't generated from planes or passengers getting onto planes. The fourth way that airports make money is through parking. You see, if you drive to the airport and park your car in the short-term or long-term parking lot, that money goes directly to the airport. And this is another great source of non-aeronautical revenue for airports. In fact, in 2019, the busiest airport in the world for parking revenue wasn't even close. It was Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. They made over $800 million just from parking, and it's easy to see why. If you're flying out of Atlanta and you decide to drive there yourself, you might have to pay anywhere from $30 to $40 for a full day of parking. And that's a pretty good chunk of change, especially if you're flying out for a week. And the fifth way that airports make money is even more surprising. It comes from what's called real estate. You see, some airports have space outside of the terminal and outside of the runways that they can lease out to private businesses. In fact, many airports have become mini business parks with warehouses and offices and even hotels on airport property. And many of these are actually quite lucrative. For example, the land and the buildings that make up LAX are worth about $16 billion. And many of these land and building values have been appreciating at about 7% per year. So you may be wondering, how much money do airports actually make? Well, it turns out that on average, the busiest airports in the world only make about $11 per passenger. So if you think about it, considering all the services that an airport provides, like security, the stores, the restaurants, the bathroom, it's actually not that expensive. That's all for now. See you next time.